Ladies and gentlemen, you are about to witness some scenes from the next attraction to play this theater. This picture, truly one of the most unusual ever filmed, contains scenes which under no circumstances should be viewed by anyone with a heart condition or anyone who is easily upset. We urgently recommend that if you are such a person or the parent of a young or impressionable child now in attendance, that you and the child leave the auditorium for the next 90 seconds.
Hello, strange person.
Oi.
What are we watching a movie today?
I think so. Let's see.
Wait a second, you can't see the top of my head. There we go.
Oh.
Okay. There, now they can see me in all my glory. All right. Just pick Anthropophagous, for God's sakes.
Ah, yes. Perhaps the most notorious video nasty of all time, Anthropophagous, is back to...
Anthropophagous.
Bloody Greeks, is back to deprave and corrupt a fresh wave of horror film viewers. Joe D'Amato. D'Amato. I'm really off on my pronunciation today.
Joe D'Amato cemented himself in the genre history with his slickly directed and suspensefully sinister... Fuck it, let's just watch the movie. All right. We just got done watching Anthropophagous, the movie.
Which I'm going to try to avoid saying as much as possible because I can't pronounce the bloody thing.
You also can't pronounce Joe D'Amato's last name either, apparently.
No.
D'Amato. Like Clamato, except without the clam.
Ah.
Right. So, Joe was... Do you know anything about him?
I know a little.
I know he did a bunch of horror movies. I think
Now,
I've seen one or two.
Anthropophagous was his first horror movie, so this is his first entry into the genre. Before this, he had done like a bunch of spaghetti westerns. He was one of the most prolific Italian directors. He did like 200 movies over his
I
career.
thought he did those Django movies.
He was like the assistant directors on that. So this was his first directing gig for horror.
I know he has a sizable section in the Scarecrow Directors section.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of his stuff, he's really famous for the Emmanuel movies. He did a lot of smut.
Right.
He did a lot of porn, a lot of hardcore
yeah.
porn. He was just...
That's where I heard him from. Hardcore. Yeah, that's where I heard his name from.
I know him
Hardcore
from
porn he did.
a couple of the Laura Gemser films.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were hardcore. Usually get edited and ended up on Playboy.
So what do we think of it?
It was okay.
Yeah. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
It was a very Italian movie.
Very.
I can see why people who don't like Italian movies and don't like Italian horror movies be like turned off by this, because it was very, very Italian.
Very bloody, but in that kind of stagey way.
Yeah.
That they, as if saying, it's fake. We don't have a lot of money. It's fake. We're going to show it anyway because, hey.
And also, I think another feature of Italian horror films is they tend to be small set.
But they use the sets gorgeously. The crypt, the tower at the end, the way of the staircase. I mean,
the Greek village with the twisty little freaky alleys.
Yeah, his sets. I mean, say what you will about the script. I mean, it looked gorgeous. I mean, he used the settings well.
Sumptuous.
But Italian films tend to not move around so much. I mean, once they establish the set, they're there.
Yeah,
they're locking you in. I mean, that's kind of deliberate. I mean, you can't get away from this.
Yeah.
So that's just like Zombie.
I will agree with you, though, that they did an excellent job with the setting and the location. I mean, the locations are amazing. And of course, most of Greece looks amazing anyways, but,
And technically, this is Zombie 7.
Really?
Yeah, technically this is Zombie. Well, you know how they just came up with something that looked like a zombie movie and slapped the word zombie on it.
I had no idea they put that name, the tag on there.
Now, the sequel we were just talking about, in fact, is Zombie 6.
Zombie 6.
Zombie 6, yeah.
It's a flashback.
I don't know what the hell they did.
It's probably a prequel kind of thing, I'm thinking.
No, it's an actual sequel. They just slapped whatever name on it.
Oh, so they just did a slapdash.
Well, don't care.
Like on this one, it's got the two titles. The other one being The Savage Island.
Yes, L'Île Sauvage. Yes.
Yeah. I didn't like the music for the most part. There were moments where the music was good. But...
Well, it's like for the first 20 minutes or so, it's the Casio keyboard version of Zorba the Greek.
Yeah.
I could have just strangled somebody. Oh my God.
I could have farted better music than that. I mean, I did find it kind of funny, the music in the guy's headphones at the beginning, the German boyfriend. Just that really cheesy kind of mid-70s, music you'd hear, on a like one of those low-budget, TV shows in the 70s.
All right, so why don't we go through it piece by piece? So how did it start?
Okay, so this German couple is vacationing on an island in Greece. They're walking their dog along a beach, and the girlfriend decides to go swimming.
Now, the weird thing is that we didn't know. We were trying to figure out that what the hell was going on, because it wasn't subtitled.
There were no subtitles.
It wasn't in Italian. It wasn't in English.
And we couldn't figure out the language at first. I thought it might have been Swedish, but
it sounded very IKEA-like.
Turned out to be German.
Yeah, well, once they advanced in the scene enough to actually be closer to the microphone and speaking longer bits of dialogue, where we're able to figure out that they're German. But
anyway, continue.
And so she swims out to a rowboat, presumably theirs, probably how they got there, or somebody's. Well, there's a boat out there. She swims to it. The boyfriend puts on some headphones with some really cheesy bad music and electronic music in it. And hang out with their dog. And the closer this woman gets to this boat, the more anxious this dog's getting, because we all know dogs, have
they detect evil.
Yeah, they've got the evil detect
or Terminators.
Yeah. So the dog runs off,
Terminators.
the moment this woman puts her hand on the boat, she gets attacked from below like Jaws. She tries to get out of the wire, and then there's blood everywhere underwater.
Now, here's what I don't get about that scene. Now, the Anthropophagous is more or less just a dude. Now, he's an insane dude. He's a mutated, weird, freaky-looking dude, but he's just a dude, right?
Yeah.
What the hell was he doing just hanging out at the bottom of the ocean so he could swim up and grab the girl and pull her under the water?
Well, he might have been in the rowboat and then got out and then was hanging out on the other side, then swam underwater and got her.
Or D'Amato just said, fuck it, I want to have this beautiful looking Jaws homage. Let's put him under the water.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? You know, it's
They
one of
did
those
have a really
things.
nice bit where he's approaching the boyfriend, and who's listening to that god awful music, and the dogs split, and there's blood dripping on the wet sand as he's approaching. I thought that was nicely done.
Oh, and then seconds later, he goes whoa with the machete, and you see his reflection in the machete in the meat cleaver.
Oh,
and then he goes boo, and you see the guy's reflection in the meat cleaver.
Yeah,
It's really
that was
well
really
done.
good.
I like that too.
And it was some pretty solid gore.
It was, yeah. And it was well cut, too.
Yeah.
It wasn't an on-screen like Tom Savini type deal, but it was well cut.
Actually, that was one of the most best well-handled deaths in the movie, in my opinion.
And it was the first one, so that really set the tone.
Well, the
for
second one, the girlfriend got it first.
Oh, right. Yeah, she got it. But this was
the first grouping of.
But this was the first actual like graphic one. You didn't really see any damage to her, just blood.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
true.
The cloud of
had
blood
some,
out of the water.
I think she had some blood on her, but she didn't have any actual damage.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we meet our heroes.
Yes.
Vacationers.
The vacationers.
Vacation,
So
yes.
so we've got pregnant girl, we've got tarot girl, we've got not the other girl that's not tarot or pregnant girl.
And I've got their
then
names.
who cares? And then we have got three good-looking men that are not identified, not indistinguishable from each other, and
Well, one of them's the really young guy.
And you've got the pilot of the boat who disappears.
right,
Yeah. Well, sort of disappears.
Sort of, kind of.
right.
On a boat.
And so
In a bucket.
And so they get on the boat. They say, hey, let's go check out these islands in Greece. And they get on a boat and they sail off and they have this kind of bland interaction and product placement. Here, would you like a cola?
Have a nice cold, you know what?
The Marlboros didn't
my
show
God.
up until later.
Yeah.
Oh, and then there's the tarot scene.
On the boat.
Yeah.
Right.
Where the one blonde gal who can read tarot cards does a tarot reading for the pregnant girl.
Which is why she's called Tarot Girl.
And winds up with a negative result and doesn't want to tell her that there's a negative result because she has no future.
But
the other girl
Yeah.
makes up something that sounds good.
Well, there is one important aspect. She couldn't make heads or tails of these cards. She spent most of her life reading tarot cards, so you figure she'd be good at it. But she couldn't make out what the fuck was going on.
Oh no, she clearly knew what was going on. You're gonna die, baby. She's just like, I'm not gonna say you're gonna die.
But she would say, a couple of times she said, I don't know what the hell this means. Maybe she was faking. Maybe she didn't want to upset them. But, it seemed to me like because they're about to get pounced by this, this creep, that she didn't understand what she was looking at necessarily.
That's certainly possible. But then later, she's screwing around with she's sitting on the side of the boat. She's screwing around with the cards. She does kind of an impromptu reading on herself, comes up with the death card, and then she's like, and throws the cards in the water.
This is the point where we should point out that in fact the death card in fact doesn't mean death. I don't know what the hell it means, but it doesn't mean what it says on the face. That's just a Anglicization of
death. The death card usually means bad fortune,
but not necessarily you're going to get murdered by a Anthropophagous.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so then.
So they start to deboard the boat, and then Maggie, the pregnant woman, steps off and immediately sprains her ankle on the gangplank.
God, no, she didn't even hit the gangplank. That was just her stepping off the boat, and then it was just a trope contrivance to get them to separated so she can get killed.
Yeah. Victim separated.
So that pissed me off so much. So then the deckhand goes and gets her some water for her sprained ankle, gets his head chopped off, put in a bucket, and then she puts her foot back in the bucket and then gets dragged off by the Anthropophagous.
And God, that head looked so fake.
Oh yeah, that was like a bargain basement Woolworths dummy head.
That was very much a Spirit
God.
Halloween. I've got more convincing heads down in my basement.
Oh, yes, I forgot something. They're getting ready for dinner.
Right.
And one of the gals, I forget which one, says, oh, it's the pregnant one, pops her head in the cabin with the other two women are, and says, "We're ready to eat, you guys."
And that's pretty much the point where the script kind of falls off off a cliff, and they kind of wander around for the next, probably about next 50 minutes or so, exploring the deserted island and trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
Mm-hmm. Run into all manner of things.
All right, so if the movie has one great failure, it's that. So it starts really strong. And once the last 20 minutes or so are really strong, I mean, really moody and lots of violence and lots of action, and it's kind of this null in the middle. I mean, it's a slow burn, but it's not really. There's not really a lot of. If they could disperse the violence and the suspense throughout the movie, it would have been a stronger script, I think.
Yeah, you're right. The middle does kind of meander, and it's not quite as tense.
Now, I got to give the movie props. The Anthropophagous looked brilliant. Oh my God!
Oh, yeah. It was creepy looking. He
was creepy looking. He was well lit. George Eastman, the guy who also co-wrote the movie with D'Amato. He's a big dude. So I mean, he's got that Kane Hodder lumber got down.
Oh yeah, and there's one bit not very long after he's introduced where they're in the crypt where the pregnant lady and her boyfriend or husband are in there, and he's approaching him, and there's this absolutely amazing shot on his face where he's coming out of shadow, and it's just like you just feel this amazing chill down your spine when he's approaching, especially with the look in his eyes. It's just like,
he's got that creepy. Yeah, he's got creepy eye down, man.
Yeah.
No, the one bit that I knew, I figured, this is not going to end well. Is there's this blind girl. It's the daughter of a couple of English people who disappeared, and she's in this bedroom. She's basically been hiding from this creep since she's been on the island, who knows how long. Yeah. And they take her, they fix her up, they put her in a bed, and then everybody leaves to go find out what's going on. And I figure, this is the moment where she's gonna get locked in the room with this guy. I'm like, God damn it. and I thought it was the end, honestly. Because you just know, and I mean, that's the first good shot you have of this guy. And it's freaking brilliant. Mm-hmm. He's just...
Incidentally, I should explain there's a flashback where at one point they explain that they find a journal, and they explain that there'd been an accident, and the guy who lived on that island with his family had gotten shipwrecked and stranded and was adrift in a lifeboat. And there's a scene where he's in the lifeboat and his wife is there, and they have their dead child, and he gets out a knife and he wants to eat the child, and because they're starving, and the boy's dead.
No, he wasn't dead though. He was looking up at Daddy with a knife. He was blinking.
Well, he was saying that he was dead.
Oh, that was just Daddy going bananas.
Yeah, and wife protests rather reasonably, and he stabs her.
Well, no, she got in the way of the knife as he was going towards his son with the thing. She got in the way, basically.
Yeah.
And that drove him insane. And you figure... And more insane. And there was a span of time between when the Germans got it and when these 6 people showed up. Well, the 5 people friends showed up on this gondola to meet one of their friends in town. So it must have been a period of months or something.
And the woman who hung herself was a sister.
Yeah. And there was a jump in time because of which is explained in this book, this journal.
So that last 20 minutes though, so it's boring, or a slow burn, depending on your view,
or terrible music,
and so it's this kind of, and then the last 20 minutes, and then all of a sudden the floodgates just open, and holy shit, here comes the gore.
Kablam.
Oh yeah. The music changed dramatically. There's a bit where he's chasing him up the stairwell, and the music's terrible. And then getting into the attic, and the music changes, and it's like, wow, this is good music. This is really good music for
We're stuck
once.
and we're fucked music.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's the scene, which is... I don't know why this got nailed as a video nasty, aside from the one scene where he rips the fetus out of the pregnant woman and then gnaws on it and chews on it and eats the baby.
That's the money shot. That's what sold it as a nasty. I mean, what woman back in that period who had any connection to giving birth wouldn't look at that and go, "No, not mine, bitch."
Exactly.
Nobody with a healthy mindset would find that appealing. You know?
No. Yeah. And then the blind girl getting her face peeled off by peeing up through the rafters was really is like,
and
God.
Plus there's the throat rippings and all that shit. I mean, the movie's filled with nasty.
Mm-hmm. It just backloaded.
Yeah. I mean, it's sporadically placed so as not to.
And then there's
the
final killing of the guy himself, with the pickaxe to the guts.
And he got it in the leg, too.
Yeah.
And then, as a final fuck you, he's like, starts eating his own intestines. It's like, God. And wait a second, so I ate my own intestines. I go into my stomach and then into my how does that work?
Well, he clearly knew he clearly knew what he was doing, but he couldn't control it. I mean, the look on his face was, I can't stop. I gotta do it. He was looking up and doing it kind of like a last act of somebody who's finally realized what he's become.
Well, he also probably knew he was mortally wounded.
Right. Well, plus he probably sees the rest of his humanity slipping away, because you notice the look on his face changed at that last scene. It didn't have the same, just crazed, man-eater. I mean, the look on his face was pure terror after he'd been ripped open, and not because he'd been ripped open, but because I think he finally realized after his intestines had hemorrhaged out that all the evil in him had hemorrhaged out too, and so he was punishing himself by basically noshing on his own intestines and then falling over. Please forgive me.
He's a dying, insane person. It doesn't have to make any better sense.
Although I will admit that the sequence preceding that, where they're both down the well and he's chasing her up, that was up the ladder. That was well done.
Yeah. Well done. Thank you.
Although I kept saying over and over, ramp it up, bitch. Get the hell out of there. Don't keep looking back down at him. It doesn't make any difference if you're looking at him. He's still coming after your ass. Just climb up that damn ladder once you've got a grip. Don't take so damn long. That's the tension thing. The getting your goat, scene there. You just scramble up that mother. Don't take your time.
Well, she did just almost have her arm pulled out of its socket.
I know, but anybody's natural inclation would be to say, get the fuck out of there.
Well, yeah, but when you only have 50% of your arm.
But you're not thinking rationally as an audience. Because, people shout at the screen, especially in, New York and shit.
Or, in fact, my living room.
Don't go in the dark room by yourself.
So pretty much the movie was about 80% slasher aesthetic, then you would say?
Yeah, it definitely delivers on the undead, not the undead, but the cannibal, delivery, I would say. It does it, and it does it, those parts really well.
Yeah, no, it was, the effects were really good, yeah.
Mm-hmm. They're full of sick. It's well cut, the color, scheme in this when it comes to the blood effects is really vivid.
And I did love, though, the kind of, I don't know if that's an artifact of a really crappy print or the DVD, but that washed out look that the whole movie had, that kind of detached, surreal, colorless look.
That worked well for me too. Although when we're on mood and lighting, they completely messed up some of the night shots. Well, so some of them look like they're filmed in the day, and then they cut to another night shot somewhere else that's obviously shot at night.
Brad, it's an Italian horror movie. You were lucky to have coherency, let alone continuity.
It's just... if they had the budget to be able to do night shots at all.
Yeah, well, the logistics, and it's just such a pain to... It's just much easier to put the blue filter in front of the lens and just call it good.
Yeah, but they didn't even use a very good blue filter.
Oh, hell, they didn't even bother to pretend like they were shooting it at night. They just shot it during the day and hoped nobody would notice.
Nah, we all noticed.
Oh, and the bats in the crypt look terrible.
So I mean, as gore bits aside, it's a cavalcade of special effects failures.
Yeah. The rats with the glowy eyes actually
I liked them.
They didn't bother me much. I thought that was a nice touch.
They were actually cute rats as opposed to like ours. They looked a little different than our American rats.
Well, they were using black rats as opposed to brown rats, for starters. Two different species.
Yeah.
And they filtered out the eyes and replaced them with a glowy red effect.
Well, it wasn't an effect. It was just we didn't take the red out. Like when you put leaves to a flash on somebody.
That was an effect.
Well, maybe it was. Maybe you're right.
Yeah. All right, so we're getting to the wrap-up stage. You got any final thoughts on it?
I liked it. I mean, I went in knowing this was a movie I wanted to see out of the nasties. I did see that. I did see the money shot bit a couple of times on YouTube. I generally skipped everything else, but
on the list, that was the one I was looking forward to the most.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was the best we've seen. I much prefer the Giallos and the whatnot, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. This was one that I hadn't seen and I was looking forward to seeing, and I thought it was relatively decent. The story was solid. The suspense was solid.
The effects were solid.
Yeah, the effects were solid. The settings were really good. Admittedly, there were a few problems in continuity and music and a few other minor glitches, but I generally liked it.
And I definitely want to check out D'Amato's other stuff. This is the first movie of his I've ever seen. So
Really?
Yeah, no, I've never seen any of his stuff, and so I want to go check out. I really want to see Absurd, and some of his other stuff looks intriguing too. So.
The Emanuels, there's a long list of them. Some of them are complete shit. Others are good.
Yeah.
Others are...
I think I've seen some of his, a couple of things, because I remember his name going, way back years and years and years ago, and back when I had a steady, diet of horror or whatever, I might have had a couple of his, among other things, But, I mean, it's good to have a steady hand in a movie like this.
Yeah, yeah. There we go. We're all done with Anthropophagous. Or are we? See, the plan is that next episode we're going to take a look at Absurd, the sequel to Anthropophagous. And believe me, it very much lives up to its name. In the meantime, if you could, please like, share, and subscribe our stuff, because we kind of like to see the project get up off the ground. And I'll go hug a VCR or something.
Hey, what is